my faith is on his word.
Yeah.
So when the Bible says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, I believe that if I'm driving in Alabama, South Carolina, New York, wherever I am, and and the truth is that I, as a black man, have been pulled over by the police many times and have been treated very fairly. I was pulled over one time in Gainesville, Florida, and there was a sobriety checkpoint, and I decided to bust a U. Next thing I know, and I'm driving a black-on-black Benz, tinted windows, probably illegal tinted windows.
Right.
He pulls up to me, rolls the window down. My wife starts giving the guy the business. Why'd you pull us over? I need to get home to be with my baby. I'm like, baby, calm down with all that. The man go run my tag, and he comes back and he's like, listen, I want you to get home to your family. Have a good night. It's okay. And I know that there has been a lot of injustices, but there's also some good officers out there. So basically, when we hear of something in the media, then the spirit of fear jumps on it, as if that's going to be the normal situation. And sometimes we don't hear any of the positive, we only hear the negative. And so, I don't know. I know it's a spiritual thing, but we walk by faith. Well, the reason that I wouldn't give up on white people, or black people, or yellow people, or a whole people group is, number one, because I have history. And thank God that I've had relationships in elementary and middle school. Had a friend named Jeremy and a friend named Sean. So even when white people or people that look different from me do something, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think that's very important, that you allow people to get in your refrigerator. What do I mean by that? People can come over my house and you can meet me in the garage. You can even come into my family room, sit on my couch and watch TV, but there's only a few people that are opening up my refrigerator. Those are inner circle relationships. And most black people don't have white people that they allow in their family room, nor less in their refrigerator. Most white people don't have black people. Most brown people don't have yellow people. What I'm saying is, whatever your ethnicity happens to be, what if you were intentional about creating the kind of space where you brought other ethnicities of people close and you let them in your refrigerator?
No, you're right, man.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think one of the things I learned over the last, I would say, 8 years, is I had to tune out the media.
Yeah.
I had to tune out sometimes my own brothers and sisters who look like me.
Right.
Because I was going into an amazing organization to where 95% of the people did not look like me. And when I hear the media, it's white, don't, and all I'm going into is white. And so then fear and thoughts was in my head, and I'm walking into an environment, and all I see is what people tell me I shouldn't like, what I shouldn't love. And I started looking at these individuals wrong, all the white people in my world wrong, like y'all, and instantly it was so funny. I heard in my spirit saying, I made them the same way I made you.
Yeah.
Are they perfect? No. Are you perfect? No. So love all people. And the ones who do you wrong, you step away from them. And I had to really get that out of my head, because I was like, man, why are you doing this? So now I really don't watch media that much.
Right.
I watch it to hear about the weather. Right. To see if it's cold. I'm a black man. I don't like being cold. But as far as in the other stuff, man, it can get in your head, and the enemy, like you said, will be like, see, that's why you shouldn't be.
That's why you shouldn't.
That's why you shouldn't. And it caused internal division.
Right.
That eventually became external division.
Right.
And I was like, yo, Anthony, you played a role in that.
Right.
As a pastor, man, one of the things that I struggle with, right, is before joining like Ramsey Solutions, and I love my family over there. What's up, fam? I was in the black church. I was an associate pastor at the Bethel Church in Fayetteville. I mean, pretty much 99% of the church was all black.
Right.
Then I transitioned and went to pretty much an organization that was like 95, 96 all white.
Right.
And I was like, man. Then when I go to church, it's the most segregated day of the week.
Right.
And white people said, oh, I love Jesus, we worshiping.
Right.
Black people, I love Jesus, we worshiping.
Right.
But then when I look up and I'm worshiping, I don't see heaven.
Wow.
but we're in church.
Right, we're in church.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, if I go into a job and I don't see people who look like me or people who don't look like me on a regular, right? Then I go to church.
Right.
But everyone says we love Jesus.
Right.
But I look to my left and look to my right. I don't see no one who look like the heaven. Why do you believe? I would say this. Yeah. Why do you believe race is such a loaded question? And why do you believe there's so much division in the church?
Right.
When it comes to pretty much looking like heaven.
Yeah. I think race is such a loaded question because, well, let me jump to the second question.
Yeah.
Let me jump to the second question. So the second question is because the church is a social construct. Monday through Friday, we will work together in the corporate construct because the money's green.
Yep.
On Saturday, we'll pass the pigskin together because we want to win the championship. The church is a social construct, meaning that you only invite who you know. And if all you know is black people, you only can bring black people to church with you. If all you know is white people, that's who you're going to do life with. It is not a corporate or a team construct. It is a social construct. And so now we have to be intentional about the relationships that we have outside of the church so that we can make disciples. Yeah. Now, let me share this with you because this is powerful.
Okay.
The last command is our first concern, is what we say as Christians, which is Matthew 28:18. It says, go into the world, make disciples of what? All nations.
Yeah.
The last command is a multi-ethnic command. The last command of Jesus is actually to go to the world and make disciples of all nations, meaning that there's power in the gospel enough to break down the barriers that divide us.
Yeah.
People say that that's the last thing that Jesus said.
Yeah.
No, that's the last thing that he said before his crucifixion.
Yeah.
The last thing Jesus said was Acts chapter 1, verse 8. He says, after the Holy Spirit comes upon you, you will be witnesses where? Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the uttermost parts of the earth. So the last thing he said was, once again, a spirit-empowered multicultural command. So the last thing Jesus says before his crucifixion and his ascension is basically, don't let your melanin and your pigment divide you from the gospel and the power to go find people that do not look like you and win them to the cross. And so the modern church, if it's just reaching the majority, or you're black and you're just reaching black people, white just reaching white people, I would suggest or encourage us to step out on his last command and his ascension instruction to go actually use the power of the gospel and find people that don't look like us.
Yeah.
Then we see the manifestation of it again in the Azusa Street revival in 1906. There's a black man named William Seymour that has a multicultural, spirit-empowered movement where women is being used and the supernatural is manifesting itself. And the same thing that God did in the early church and in the Azusa Street revival, he wants to do now. A spirit-empowered, multi-ethnic movement where people come in our churches and they're like, okay, is this a black church? Is it a white church? No, this is Jesus.
Yeah.
It looks like heaven. Yeah. And the same principles apply to business too. That's the thing. It applies across the board.
I've been in several organizations. Recently, we did a show with a young lady who goes into specifically predominantly white organizations, and she helps them be intentional about hiring people of color. From a pastoral perspective, do you believe that organizations, and including churches, we should be intentional about hiring people who do not look like the majority of people in the room?
You have to be intentional.
But okay, cool. Let me say this too. Then when we say that, this is what I hear the response back. And I'm going to say this respectfully. I haven't heard this from a black person. I've heard this from a white person.
Okay.
I'm going to hire the best.
Yes.
And sometimes the best may not be black.
Right.
It may not be Hispanic. It may not be Asian. If the majority of the best are white, I'm hiring the best.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, and they're like, so do you want me to? And this is the part that gets me a little frustrated.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
This is a tough one because it's like, so if I have a white person here who's the best, but then I have a black person here who may not be the best, do you want me to get the subpar? And I was like, oh man, that's a tough question because I'm like, why do we automatically, I don't know. So from a pastor perspective, how would you respond to somebody like that from a spiritual perspective?
I would say that there's probably someone out there that is equal to them. You just haven't found them
exactly
yet. And that's the thing. It's the easy picking. So black people, percentage-wise, we only make up 13% of the U.S. population.
Right.
So it's easy to get on monsterjob.com or google.com and have a bunch of applicants come over. So if you really value diversity, you're going to have to be willing to sow the seed of hard work to really find equal talent. But here's the deal, Anthony, they're out there. You just got to be willing to find them.
Pastor!
I would not tell a person to hire someone who is subpar.
Yeah.
I would go say, find somebody who is at that level, but they can still represent diversity, and they're out there. You can find them.